You love helping people. You love putting them first. It makes you feel good. But you have done it for so long that you start to think, well, what about me? What about what I want? And it's been so long that you probably don't even know what you want anymore. What do you actually want from your life? Everything has become kind of confusing. And even if you do know what you want, you're not sure how to even get there anymore. Because there are so many limitations in your mind and your heart that are just these roadblocks that you know isn't really external if you're being honest with yourself. You know it's not anyone in particular stopping you. You just know you're stopping yourself. And so what is the real cause of this? Why are you unable to actually put yourself first without feeling like you're selfish and that you're just like a piece of crap? And what can you actually do about it? Because once you can actually begin to put yourself first, the irony is you will then become a much better man of service to those around you. Well, the first thing I want to say is you are not alone. Absolutely not. We have men inside of our community who are dealing with the exact same thing. One individual in particular, this has been his whole life. He's been putting other people first, having their happiness be the anchor for his happiness. But now, getting to the age that he's at, getting close to 40, he's getting sick of it. And it naturally starts to grow bitterness and anger and resentment. So this is something we have to deal with before we're just going to be a grumpy goose, right? We don't know who wants to be a grumpy goose. So what is going on? So I'm going to give you the illustration straight from my sovereign integration system. Now, the one that I have, I'll pop it up on the screen, looks a lot better, but this one's close enough. So here's what we're going to do. Start at the very bottom. What is that? That is your soul. The soul is the space that desires one thing, and that's to express itself. It wants to blossom. What does that even mean? If you are someone grown up in an environment where hyper-masculinity is the most important thing, so if you have any expression for the arts or any desire to do anything other than the most stereotypical masculine endeavors, that now creates a suppression. The soul within you is wanting to live in many different areas. But if it's being asked, no, I got to do this one thing and one thing only, then that is not allowing it to express. And this is when it creates distortions, it creates distress, makes things very uncomfortable within you, as if you are fighting this like outward expansion from within, and you have to actually squish it down, the act of suppression itself. But the soul, I like to think of it as a light. It's a light that passes through up into these three chambers I call the core desires. This is universal for every human being. These are the core desires that we want to be met. And if we, because all of us have had not the perfect childhood, just normal, these, when they're not being met and they become violated, this is a prism that when the light shines through creates a rainbow. Instead, in this case, it's going to shine through and it's going to create something completely different. It's going to distort your reality. The first one, I matter, the foundational pillar. Do you have inherent worth? If you were a child growing up, did you feel, at least you had one parental figure that you felt that no matter how poorly you did at school, or if you weren't funny, or if you weren't as smart as everybody else, that you still had a space, that you still were welcomed in. You were encouraged to be a better version of yourself, but from a place of skill and things that you can actually acquire. But not saying you can't do it because you are fundamentally broken. There's something busted with you. You're not like your brother, or I wish you were like your neighbor or something. If that was not met, that creates a warp, a distortion in your self-concept. Passing through the next chamber, I am seen. Are you seen for who you fully are? Can you reveal yourself? Not just to the people around you, but to yourself. Can you reveal yourself to yourself is what I usually say. If the foundational core desire is warped, guess what? That's going to warp the second. Because if there are certain parts of you that are not welcome, not met, that get you rejected, bullied, judged, criticized, well, then what you're going to say is, okay, well, screw it. I'm just going to curate and cultivate a particular persona that then is going to get me accepted. It's going to give me oftentimes it's not always a proactive thing. It is a very defensive thing. I'm going to do these actions to avoid any drama, to avoid criticism. And the act could be a very charitable act. Like putting other people first. But if you're putting other people first to avoid having someone attack you at your foundational pillar, that's a totally different game, and you are not doing it from a place of genuine love. You're doing it from a place of defense, which then moves up to the next thing. I have agency. Do you feel you have control over your life? Well, you're not going to feel that way because you don't really feel like you're doing it from a place of center. You're doing it from a place of survival. And it's a different experience. You don't actually feel in control. You feel like the script, the identity, the persona you've developed is in control. And that suffocates you as you get older. You start to feel it squeeze. Now, all of this leads to the creation of your identity, which is the illusion. That is the illusion. When you are unconscious of how it operates, you think that's just what you are. You're meant to be this confined, imprisoned thing that is not allowed to do different activities, have different beliefs and opinions about the world, about themselves. You have to squish yourself into something. That's who you think you are, but it's not. It's not who you are. And so when a core desire is violated, this is what leads to the creation of the protective ego. All your ego is trying to do is protect you. It's trying to avoid the danger that you have now deemed as a problem. People judging and criticizing you is an issue. So let's do whatever we can to avoid that. Which, by the way, it's very natural for those individuals to hate on that part of themselves. To say, I can't believe it. Like, why am I doing this? I'm such a loser, such a pushover. Why can't I be a man and stand up for myself? Which only makes it even worse. So if anything from this video, if you could take, begin the process of not doing that to yourself. It just really snowballs and makes it a lot worse. Number two, your ego will see disappointing others as death. It feels like a genuine psychological death, which is why it will not listen to you if you try to tell it, well, I don't want to do this today. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to avoid it. Maybe the person that's asking me to help them when I'm already just like up to here with the tasks in my life, I'll just tell them no. But then immediately what happens, just even now, as you think of that scenario, you probably feel anxiety, some stress, some pressure in your chest, like, you have to do it. So what do we do about it? Well, the first thing is we need to identify that wounded core. Because if we don't identify and don't understand which one is wounded more specifically, then it will consistently just manifest a different identity. So even if you move to a different city, even if you try to make new friends, you'll often find that this pattern resurfaces itself over and over again. Because you got to get all the way down to the engine room and actually discover what it is that's causing this to replay over and over again. Long story short, basically, the wounded cores are meant to be healed by you. You become the person that heals them for yourself. You realize that you matter. You realize that you have seen all parts of yourself and you accept all parts of yourself. The illusion that you've been living by is just an illusion, and you have agency over which direction you want to go. You just have to have the courage to act on it. But it goes into 3 distinct stages. So I kind of probably confused the hell out of you going 1, 2, 3, 4, but it starts with stage number 1, which I wrote number 2, deconstruction. The deconstruction phase, this is, by the way, out of my sovereign integration system, we have to audit the past. We need to actually follow the trail of breadcrumbs and understand, where did this originate? Which authority figure or lack thereof? Was it siblings, school? Where did this kind of begin, this desire that I need to put other people first at all costs? And now it's just become this prison that if I don't do it, I feel terrible about myself. We need to figure that out. We need to break down your patterns, because trauma lives a lot of times in the body. Because once things become repressed, which is I am no longer even actively stuffing my inner desire to put boundaries and put myself first, when you squash that long enough, it becomes repressed and it just lives in the body through tension, through shakiness, like shaking your leg when you sit or needing substances to calm yourself down, which only snowballs you, makes it worse, because you're not actually building that resilience. You're building tools that actually you need, and if you don't use them, you're pretty much effed. So breaking down the patterns, understanding how they work, what are the routines that you do that are actually secretly keeping that illusion alive? And that's the real game as well, is the actions. Next stage, blueprint. We now need to map out your wounded core. Once we get a general idea of it, we need to map it out, see what it looks like on paper. Where did the wound of I matter get violated? When did it get violated? Who did it? And how did it over time adapt itself? We either interrupt, replace, or dissolve the pattern. We can't just always dissolve them. If they're deeply ingrained, they're kind of going to always be there. But we have one of those three choices. Either one is great, honestly. Discover the central lie. We all have a central lie. Everybody does. And when we can get to it, we can really challenge it and then use the mind. We can use the mind then to actually cut it into pieces and say, why is it that I think that I'm not worthy of people's attention, genuinely, truthfully? Why am I not worthy of love? For myself even, forget the rest of the world. Why can't I give that to myself? Really, honestly, why can't I? And you begin to sort of ask these very sort of interrogating questions, but, from a place of compassion, understanding, being patient with yourself, showing grace, but also being firm. Having that masculine that say, no, I'm going to keep your feet to the fire until we figure this out. The final stage, application, the most important stage, which is now we need to act on the plan. Once we've discovered, mapped it out, and the soul within us is saying, we need to start setting these particular boundaries with these particular types of people. You now have to act on it. And that is the hardest part, which is why it takes people so long. And that's why, I developed a free community, links down below, because then you can feel accountable. You can come back to the group of men who are all on the same journey to integrate, to be those that are living fully expressed from their soul. And you can share. You can talk about your challenges, your setbacks. And it allows you to at least feel like you can come back to a group and get that sense of momentum and inertia. So even if you don't join the community, you have to be able to make that plan and begin to do it. Set it in motion. Follow the soul. The soul will tell you to do something you do not want to do. You'll feel it. It'll come up. It won't even be maybe in a thought. It won't even maybe be in an image. It could just be as a feeling, a sensation that is telling you to do this, to do something that will further the expression of itself. And I recommend you listen to it if you can. Ground yourself with your heart. Your heart will ground you, will maintain balance and equilibrium. You're giving yourself compassion, love, patience, understanding that this is going to take time. It's not going to be right off the bat, and to not attack yourself if you're not being successful right off the bat. And then use your mind to plan and adapt. Always remember, soul first, soul leads. The heart will ground you, and the mind will plan and execute. Do not flip them upside down. If your brain does everything, you'll be trapped in anxiety, paranoia, and survival. The ego will do one thing. It just wants to survive. Then your heart is going to go all over the place. You might use just a lot of anger to give momentum to yourself to actually do things. But then you'll feel incredible shame and frustration and depression because you are not regulating. You're just swinging from one thing to the next, which all this is noise. It's noise, and it clouds, and it makes the sound of the soul completely gone. You can't hear it anymore. And I always say the soul hums to you. It doesn't scream at you. And so in order to listen to it, you have to start here. I have a whole bunch of practices inside the community. So again, it's free. You got nothing to lose. You got a brotherhood of people who are on the same journey as you, and it makes everything a lot easier. I'll leave you with this. It's a cage that we have built for ourselves, but we simultaneously hold the key to get out of that cage. We don't think we have it, but we do. But sometimes we just need a little bit of help. We need a little bit of guidance to show us where it is. Your soul knows exactly what it wants to do. It knows what it needs. No one can tell you what you need from your life. Only you know. You just got to get out of your own way. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you on the next video.